Was in the spring, one sunny day, my sweet gal left me, Lord, she went away. Now she's gone and I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. Baby called me up down in El Paso, said come back daddy, I need you so. Now she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. Play a barn. You don't like my peaches, don't shake my tree. Stay out of my orchard, let my peaches be. Now she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. Don't you come here running, holding at your hand. Gonna get me a woman where you got your man. Now she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. One more time. In the spring, one sunny day, my sweet gal left me, Lord, she went away. Now she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. Said now she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world.
All right, welcome to the Simmons Says Show. I am Jeff Simmons, your host. Hope everybody had a tremendous, terrific warning. We're having all kinds of trouble here at Studio 605, but we're going to figure it out. I am Jeff Simmons again. If you want to check out Mud Bums today, our presenting sponsor, 507-2867. You can get that call in and go pick it up, get the $10 lunch special, or you can go over there and just try the meat and three or anything on the Mud Bums menu. Of course, they're going to have live music this upcoming weekend, as they do every weekend at Mud Bums, and just all kinds of entertainment. And also they also do the Songwriters Night. They have specials every weekday, and just have a great time over there at Mud Bums. Again, too, I hope everybody has enjoyed their weekend. I know I have. We went viral. I didn't know what that really meant until this weekend, and then all of a sudden we had over 1 million views on all of our clips and reels from last week's interview with Gary Rankin. And now I think we added 3,000 followers in the span of about 48 hours. So if you're new to the programs, we do the Simmons Says Show on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 10:30 to 11:30. Of course, today we had a little bit of technical issues, so we got started a little bit later. We'll also do Back It Up Terry on Tuesday night. The Coaches Show will be on tonight from 5:30 to 6 with myself, Coach Ballou, and Michael Thrower. And then we do the Sports Authority every Wednesday night at 5 o'clock, where we're bringing in some more guests here soon. Patty Clark is going to be on next Wednesday, and then we'll have Bobby Luna will be on in the first week of August. So again, too, the Patty Clark interview, because people are already asking all about that, is next Wednesday. So if you get to here on Wednesday night and you're like, where's Patty Clark at? Next Wednesday, July the 29th. I am sitting here with Coach Franklin Fisher. We got Hall of Famers everywhere. We might as well bring in another Hall of Famer, Warren County Sports Hall of Famer, Franklin Fisher. Coach, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Jeff. How are you, Bo?
I'm doing well. I thought that we would bring you in here because I know that Sullins has just completely slandered you last week, and I wanted to make sure that you had a rebuttal time there.
Oh, he didn't slander me. Oh, he just stated the facts. It happened.
Yep.
It's one of those deals.
Well, what we were talking about was that Coach Franklin Fisher, who has a legendary career coaching in Warren County, and in fact, I was thinking about this on the way to the show today. Baseball, softball, volleyball, and what am I leaving out? Softball, volleyball, baseball, football, obviously, and then is there other ones? Did I miss one? Because you were in girls basketball.
Girls basketball. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
That's about,
See, even you're forgetting.
That's about 10 years worth of pretending to be a post coach. Yeah, that's right. 4s and 5s. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been and it's strength. Maybe like the de facto strength and conditioning coach for almost anything.
Oh, yeah. At one point in time. Keith Maxwell brought one of his golfers to me, Jennifer Haley.
Yeah.
And she was having some kind of wrist issue and whatnot, or forearm or something like that. And she'd gone through the rehab, and they wanted her to strengthen it up. And I said, well, I got some ideas here that won't be too compromising to her stroke, I hope. Mm-hmm. And so that's back before the internet. You can Google stuff now and find all sorts of things. Back then you just had to hunt and peck. But work with her and Andy Jones, when she got the job here, I sent her a message saying, congratulations.
Yep.
I'm glad you got the job. Tell me when your first practice is, and I'll come over there and I'll play having a heat wave. because and the story behind that is Steve Fulham was the wrestling coach, and basically it was a situation where Mr. James Ramsey came in, and before his boys, Bo and Lee, came in to play for us, he said, I can go here, I can go someplace else. I said, but I need to know there's going to be a wrestling program here. And I said, I'll get you a wrestling program. Because I'd kind of worked with DuPont during my student teaching in Nashville, Old Hickory. And I said, I'll get you one. And so even if I have to coach it myself.
Yep.
And he came back towards the end of football season, and we're getting our brains beat in. And he looked at me, he said, what about that wrestling team? I said, I don't think I got anything left. I said, I will do my best to find. And we were in the coach's office down there in the vocational wing at football offices. And Steve Fulham was in there, and I looked over at Steve. I said, Steve, would you have any interest in being a wrestling coach? He said, I'll do it. Steve was anything he went into, he was a student of the game.
Yep.
And he learned that thing. But anyhow, getting back to this with Andy. So I would go in there and just sit and watch. I wasn't a wrestling coach. I knew I wasn't a wrestling coach. But Steve had to go do something. It was a doctor's appointment, or he had some kind of in-service or something like that. And so we're in that little closet. If you go in the double doors going out of the gym towards the volleyball locker room, which used to be the girls' locker room, there's a little closet on the left, excuse me.
Yep.
And it's not a little closet, it's a big closet. It's been used for a lot of different things. But Fulham found it and decided he'd put his wrestling practice room in there. And he would close the doors, and he would turn a heater on. And so I'm in there sweating like nobody's business. These people, I knew what was coming. I've been around there before. I'd sit in with him. And they're running around the one mat that's in there and running around, and they're dying. And I'm going, having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave. And Andy Jones looked at me like, have you lost your mind? And then she started laughing.
Yeah.
And so every time I've seen her since then, especially when I was driving for Coach Harris and the wrestling team, I saw her at Blackman.
Yeah.
I brought that up, and she thought that was pretty funny.
Well, honestly, we've talked about this a lot, and I even when Coach Jones was in here and talking about it, you kind of have lost your mind if you're in the wrestling program.
Hey,
it takes just a special mindset to do that.
Well, I'm telling you, my girls back in the day would run that stairwell, after practice, 25, 30 times. And we'd run up it and then we'd walk down it. Well, it was fine until it got to, towards the end of the season when the wrestlers, because Steve would make his wrestlers do the same thing. When they got in there's like 35 or 40 of them, and they just continuously, it wasn't just 30 times. The wall sweated.
Oh, man.
And the smell.
Oh,
was amazing. And so, and towards the end of the volleyball season, the volleyball girls would look at me like, you got to be kidding me. The wrestlers just came out there. I said, it's part of being tough.
Yeah.
Are you going to run it with us? I said, absolutely not.
that hallway going up to the auxiliary gym
Still smells bad.
I think it's never gonna lose that smell. I think it's in the paint.
And
now.
well, they painted over it 2 or 3 times, and it's still there.
There's no way. I remember going up there multiple times where they'd be having basketball practice, and I'm going to go talk to a coach, and they're just actually trying to walk through them as they're running in there.
Oh yeah.
And the moment it's like it's on you.
Yeah, it's like some
It's like I need to go home and take a shower.
It's some
now.
kind of funk is what that is. Yeah, it's not good.
But it was going back though, talking about we had Coach Rankin in here, and again too for the folks that shared all the posts and all the reels, and all the different things, or hit the follow button on there. We think so thankful for all y'all. That's what we're trying to do here on Studio 605, and it was incredible to see all that come through. But he did. Sullins brought it up. Coach Rankin was talking about it. So but I want to go back a little bit. What was y'all's previous relationship? Was he coaching here when you were playing here? Did y'all ever cross paths before?
Well, I put it in the comments. My senior year was his first year at Warren County.
Okay, yeah.
He at camp. Steve Mitchell brought him in. Stan, Steve's brother, the fullback, played at Miami. Great guy, offensive coordinator. He left to do something. He had business, in other places like Sparta, that he had to run, and it was becoming significant that he be out of it. So Steve, I assume, told Coach Ed Cantrell's my head coach, that he thought Rankin would be good. So they brought Rankin in, and he was there my senior year. He was defensive back coach and backs coach, and probably running backs coach too. Steve was the line coach, and Bobby Cantrell was there, and I'm sure he probably worked with the defensive backs also, and maybe the wide receivers. But I can't remember what the responsibilities were. But that's when Rankin got here. Yeah. And in the story I put in the comments, or tried to put in the comments, was I didn't have much to do with him. I mean, he was there, and it was only 4 coaches, so you interacted with him. But back in that day, we talked about people getting water during practice, and it's 100 degrees and all this stuff, and we've been down in the pit on the practice field, and it may have been, it was towards the end of the season. It was still hot though. It had to be like mid-September. And I came up there, and what they would do is they would bring the coolers out for after practice, and the big orange igloo coolers with the ice and stuff in it, and all this sort of stuff. And the running backs and all those people get there first, and they get cut, whatever was in there, Gatorade, water, or whatever. And then the linemen would come up, and we'd try to get ice out of there. And by the time we got up there, stuff was gone, or there was a line. And I weighed 285, man. I was tired. I said, forget it. I'll just drag my sorry butt into the locker room and drink something out of the faucet in there. And all of a sudden, I turned around and walked away, because it was underneath the goal post. And so I just turned around and go back out that gate towards the locker room. And then somebody tapped me on the shoulder. And it was Rankin, and he said, "Here, you deserve this. You had a heck of a practice. I'll clean that up a little bit." And I said, "Appreciate that." And so I remember that. I mean, it's one of those things you just don't forget. And then whatever, 20 years later, I'm on the sideline going, "What's going on?
Why are you doing this to me?"
Well, I'm sitting there, and I'm one of his former players. Yeah. Okay. I've got on my staff James Bennett, who's my defensive coordinator at that time. Did a heck of a job for us. He's right there beside me, and he's probably got that same dazed look on his face. And when Antron Peebles, a big tight end, defensive end guy, hit a kid named Travis Brown, who was our running back, who was really good, and he could get around all sorts. He hit him, and they both ended up parallel to the ground, going backwards about 3 foot off the ground. That was like in the second quarter. I'm sitting there going, okay, we're good. I knew you were good coming into this, but so we started backing off the second half. Yeah. Okay, he didn't take his first team out until the end of the third quarter. That's just what he does. Yeah. Okay, and the thing that was the kicker, and all this didn't bother me, because I kind of thought that there might be some animosity there, because at one point in time, I want to say, and Coach Rankin said there was never any overlap, and I may hear back from him on this, but I'm pretty sure that he applied for the job when Ray Barnes applied for the job in '85 or '86. Yeah, and he didn't get the job. They gave it to Ray instead, because Boots was one of Ray's friends, and Bobby Newby and all that connection stuff. So we kind of thought there was some animosity there. I may be wrong, and Coach Rankin can correct me if he wants to. Yeah. But And so I can understand him wanting to maybe, take out some stuff on, but that was a bit much. And the kicker here was, and he doesn't remember this. He said he was younger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing. He was young back then, and you learn lessons as you get older. They ran a sweep, reverse, pass.
Oh.
With no time left on the clock.
Oh, wow.
Inside the 15-yard line for a touchdown.
Wow.
That's when that's why most of this is blocked out of my subconscious.
Okay.
I went, and for some reason, all of a sudden, Maurice Patton. You know Maurice?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh, Maurice Patton pops up out of the turf beside me going with a microphone going, "How do you feel about this, coach?" I went, "Well, to tell you the truth, I think it pretty much sucks." Okay. He said, "What are you going to tell him?" I said, "I'm going to tell him whatever I always tell him." I said, "Good game. Don't appreciate what you did." I said, "I thought we were closer than that, and I'm just going to walk off." I said, "What am I going to do, punch him in the head?" No.
Gonna get a brawl, Gary. Right
Yeah,
there in the middle of the field.
even at that age, I knew that was not, that was not proper etiquette. That was not the way we handled it.
Yeah.
And there was animosity after that between our coaching staff and their coaching staff, or just individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to get film. I called Jimmy Maynard, the guy that talked Gary into taking the Riverdale job.
Yep.
And I talked to Jimmy because Jimmy was the guy was in charge of film exchange. I said, "Hey, Jim, we're going to exchange some film. Where do you want to meet?" He said, "Frank, Gary doesn't want to exchange film." I said, "What?" Gary said, something happened at the coaching clinic between Gary and somebody on my staff.
Oh.
And it was like the person ignored Gary. Okay, and this is verbatim, and I guarantee it's the truth. And I said, "I understand that." I said, "I don't understand why we can't exchange film. I understand why he's upset about that."
Yeah.
He said, I just can't do it, Frank." I said, "That's okay. We'll take care of it." So I went to their last three teams that they played and said, "Give me film."
Yeah.
All right. So I put together, and that year I was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And I was running a wide tackle 6, and we were blitzing the crud out of everybody. All right. So he came into town. He didn't know that it was a different defensive coordinator, and offensive philosophy with Fulham had changed a little bit. So they ran a spread offense, doubles, twins on each side, and sometimes trips over or trips open. And so we accounted for everything. Played man underneath, man free, which man underneath.
Yeah.
I had people on his athletes that should never have been on the same field. But my kids, all 4 years I coached, my kids had heart.
Yeah.
We may not be the best talented, may not be the deepest as far as positions were concerned, but we had heart. I said, "I'm sending these 2 linebackers every play, and we're actually, if they've got 5 protecting, we're sending 6."
Yeah.
Okay, and we blitzed the crud out of them, and they beat us 21-7, and they beat us on a punt that we had. Andy Scott was working for me. He had a great punt block put in, and we broke through and we're on top of the Griffin kid, right?
Yeah.
Don Griffin. Yeah, Griffin. Yeah. And he pulls the ball down and runs 40 yards for a touchdown. Okay. And then he intercepted the ball later, I think, or picked up a fumble and ran it in for a touchdown. And then they scored a regular offensive touchdown. And then we drove on them all night and kept the ball. And I think Cam Reagan or Jason Norris, one of the two, scored.
Yeah.
Up until that point, nobody had scored on them. It was like the 6th ball game.
Yeah.
Nobody had scored on them, and they had not scored less than 35 points
Yeah.
up until that point. And I'm sitting there going, and
Not a bad night.
Not a bad night. We came back, and so, but the thing that always sticks in my mind is, where did Maurice Patton come from? That man, I mean, it's like he popped out of a equipment bag or something. But that's just a good reporter, I guess.
Yeah.
He was right there on top of me, and I didn't have much to say to him. I hated that, but.
Yeah. Well, their comment section's lit up a little bit. Drew Walker says, "I can still hear Coach Upton yelling at us up and down those stairs." And Landis Crabtree also said, "When Coach Upton was yelling at you, you just don't forget it as a teacher or a coach."
Yeah. Yeah, that's Upton.
Upton, yeah. Well, we could have 20 more stories of Upton.
Well, I'm not going to do a story, but I'm going to, we have Blaylock who's worked by herself this past year.
Yeah.
I worked by myself for like 12, 14 years of the 18 years I coached, or 20 years I coached. And then Upton had 2 stepdaughters that made the team.
Yep.
And I lost the parent who had helped me. Anthony Malone helped me a great deal, and I picked up Jeff McKinley. He helped me the rest of the way out. But I realized I needed somebody on the bench, so I looked it up, and I'd been working with him with softball. And I said, "You want to help me with volleyball since your daughters are, your step?" He said, "Okay." And I said, "Okay." So I said, "Now you got to understand, volleyball's a different thing. We don't yell at volleyball players. It's because if you yell at volleyball players, they think you're panicking, and if you panic, then they're going to panic." Yep. I said, "We got to be, smooth, calm, direct. We can talk to them. We can talk firmly to them, but we can't do what you like to do." And the man sat on the bench with his reading glasses on and a pen and a clipboard and kept up with my score and told me stuff that, the extra set of eyes, even though he didn't know anything about volleyball. I did talk him into playing in the Civic Center League a couple of years. A heck of a middle blocker because he stands flat foot and block you, kind of like you. But anyhow, he was so reserved and refined, it was just like Jekyll and Hyde between volleyball and softball and football.
He was just saving it all
well,
up.
Yeah, he just knew how to adapt to the situation. I appreciated that about him.
Yeah, Krista Sullins also said that that game and Mo Patton and all that said it was the lead story on Channel 4 News Thursday night. Because guess there was not a lot going on that night.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't catch the news that night. I was probably just sitting in the locker room staring at the ceiling or something.
Yeah. Well, Don Lowry Wanamaker says, "Tell about your punter in that game going and sitting down. Said he was tired of punting." And then I guess years later, you all are learning the difference between pickles and cucumbers together.
Oh.
What did Lowry? Lowry just decided to pull himself out of punting?
No, I don't think that's what happened. You see, I blocked out a lot of this stuff.
The football coaching aspect of your
career. I remember. I remember most of it, but the stuff that really comes back is before 1991.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as Lowry, Lowry probably didn't. I don't think he said that. I think what happened was somebody substituted another punter in for him.
Oh.
and he looked at that coach and said, "You gonna let him punt?" And they said, "Yeah." And he went back and sat down on the bench and said, "Okay, let him punt." It wasn't pretty.
Oh.
But see, I wasn't. I delegated that responsibility to other coaches, and they took care of that. I guess. I don't know, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, the coaching fraternity that you end up. Because you pointing in that out is you're out there. You played in the '70s. You end up coaching in the '90s, 2000s, into the 2010s throughout Warren County. What is it like when you start coaching together with a player that's played for you, like a guy like Lowry, and especially when the tables turn all of a sudden you're the assistant coach for a kid that you coached?
Well, when Lowry, I've been going down there since like 2016 or 17, doing his clinics after I retired in 13. I can't remember how quickly I started going and doing that for him. Just a fundamentals camp, like 3 days, and he really liked it, and he thought it was good, and I thought it was pretty elemental myself. It's back to basics. I said, and these people all play club ball. I said, this is going to be boring. He said, you will be surprised. And so I came up with some drills that were tough for them to handle, even if they had a lot of experience, and it worked out really well. But
a couple states, would say that.
Well,
it worked out pretty well.
Three trips to They took me along on a nice ride. And I'm so appreciative to Lowry. Yeah. But after I got through retiring completely from the school system, he asked me to come down there and be the head coach. You want to be the head coach? I'll be your assistant. I said no. No. You don't understand. I don't want that responsibility. Yeah. And he said, we'll co-coach it. I said, okay, we'll co-coach it, whatever you call it. Okay. Basically, I'm your assistant coach, but I'm, that's what I'm looking at. But dude is a heck of a coach. Yeah. And I've been very fortunate. All the coaches I've worked for, I have learned so much from, but I probably learned the most from my former players. I've told you this story before. I was Mary Kate was like a junior or sophomore sometime. Whenever the first time we went down to play him at CSAS, and And I'm sitting there on the sidelines doing my usual gig. I'm squatted at the corner back there watching the play and maybe just, saying some things here and there. And I look down at the other end, and Lowry's down there just up and pacing and yelling and all this sort of stuff, all this passion, all this enthusiasm. I'm sitting there going, I can't let him outdo me. I said, and then I sat there and I said, it's not outdo me. If I think about this, he's got what I used to have, that passion that I want to be involved. I want to, play the game through the kid and that type of stuff. And so right then changed my attitude. And we had been successful. Like my girls were going to be successful. They took me wherever they went. But after that, I started being a little bit more proactive, a lot more proactive because of his example. So he kind of set me on the right course. And I had Andy Scott come back, like I said, and work for me after he'd worked at middle for a couple, played at middle, and helped us with special teams. And he was amazing. He's been a head coach in Georgia for a while. Now, out here with Blaylock.
Yeah, Captain Bus Driver.
Yeah, Captain Bus Driver. But she's all over it. All the details and all the different perspectives psychologically and technically. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that you've been through a lot of different things with a lot of different people, and then like you said, that you've coached. Now you're coaching with people that you played with, that you coached back in the day. You've also coached with people that you grew up with. I mean, you've been on several different coaching staffs. Well, I mean, what's it like coaching with someone like a Ronnie Brown? Compared to coaching with maybe like a Brandon Lowry or coaching with all the people. I mean, you've coached on a different, Boots Donnelly, these guys.
Yeah, well, and that's why, I hate to start naming names because Ronnie Brown is huge in my development because he's talking about a laid-back kind of guy.
Yeah. But
then he clicks it in and he can just crawl all over you. And we got through that first season here with Ray Barnes in football, and I was beat up. I mean, I just got through being at middle, and we had a really good season there, and to come in here and rebuild a program. I think we're 2-7 that year, and won the last game against Sparta. We ran a gimmick offense that Ronnie Brown came up with. We called it the Brown Gun, and it was doubles, and there was no huddle. It was all 2-minute the whole game. Nice. And Jimmy Maynard was the head coach, and Bobby Hale was the defensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
And we knew this was going to surprise them, so I'm sitting there, and I'm in the box with Ronnie, and all we did was yell out numbers. And they knew what play we were running, what routes we were running, and the quarterback knew who to look for. And when we ran it the first time, I had my binoculars, because I knew Maynard was going to react, and Maynard looked out the field, looked back over his shoulder, looked at the field, looked back over his shoulder, and then starts running down the sidelines. And he runs straight to Bobby Hale, who's talking to a kid about something. They thought, we're going to whip these people. And I don't even pay that much attention. Of course, Bobby was really calm and collected anyway. And he's over there. I can see him. He's pointing at Bobby, and then he's pointing at the field. Jimmy Maynard is. And Bobby looks up and goes, oh, and he says a few things that I'm pretty sure I could read his lips, but it was real slow. And I'm sitting there going, well, that's pretty much the reaction we wanted, and we won that game. Yeah. But after that season was over, I was pretty beat up mentally. I was still pretty young, and Ronnie said, I need an assistant coach. And he said, I need somebody I can trust. And I said, okay, I can do that. I don't know a dadgum thing about baseball except when I played senior league at Dottie West. And he said, I'll teach you. He said, I need an extra set of eyes and somebody hit fungo. I said, I'll try not to kill anybody. And so Ronnie, and his philosophy. I mean, you're, like you said, you're exposed to all these different people, whether they were my coaches or people I worked with or played with or people I coached. They all, it's like I said, if you're not learning all the time, then you might as well go to the house and watch it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, you worked with Eads, you worked with all kinds of.
Yeah, and seeing Coach Eads and Coach Donnelly, I mean, they're close. I mean, now Coach Donnelly's vocabulary was a little out there, because he's going to express himself, but Coach Eads had the same demeanor, the maximum expectations as far as your players are concerned, and fundamentals. Coach Eads, Lord have mercy, she was such a good coach fundamentally, and the thing here is, you can't teach them fundamentals when they're freshmen and sophomores, and expect them to, start playing immediately with those. So, the last couple of years I was there, we're running full court break, trying to get a layup in. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody gets a turn. We're going to run full court and we're going to left hand, right hand, see if try to get you to pick the right leg up. Even I knew that much.
Well, Chris Owens has chimed in the comment section. I think this will be a good one because you've had opportunities to be in different places. I always wondered why good coaches like Coach Fisher stayed in Warren County when I'm sure many other opportunities presented themselves. What was his reasoning for staying and doing so much for Warren County?
It's a great little community. I had opportunities. I was offered the defensive front seven coordinator position at Maryville College from middle. And I also had an offer to go to Lakeland, Florida. They had an opening there, and I had connections that would get me a job in Lakeland. And Coach Donnelly came back to me and told me that Ray Barnes was coming here, and he told me that I needed to come here and help him for 2 years. Yeah. And he said, help him for 2 years. He said, I'll find you a job wherever you want to go. He said, whatever. It may not be, the upper levels, it may be more of a part-time type situation, a grad assistant that has money involved, things of that nature. He said, but I just need you, to go down there and help him. So I got down here and worked with Ray for a couple of years, and I was with Ronnie, and I was with, Stan Jacobs and those guys, and we had a good time, and we had some success, and we were building, and I really didn't want to leave until we had finished building, because I'd never been any place. Of course, I've only been a couple places where when we got there, and then we left them better than we found them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I got here, and I ended up spending 5 years because I liked the group. I liked the kids. I liked the coaches. I liked my teaching assignment and things of that nature. And I thought, and then I said the next move for me was to become a head coach. And so I applied at Beach. I almost got the job at Beach right after Ray left, or right before Ray left, and Roger Holmes got that one. But I ended up coming back here, and they hired me over Steve Britton, which was probably a mistake, in my opinion. I think Steve probably would have, and me working for Steve would have been probably a better situation because Steve and I were teammates, and Steve, great knowledge. Of course, it would have been two offensive, defensive lineman type. We would have had to find some running back people, and around here you couldn't get assistants that often in here.
Yeah.
And about that time that I got the head coaching job, or just before that, we had Mary Kate, and maybe it was before I even started applying for these head coaching jobs. I was, here, and we found a babysitter. Her name was Brenda Rigsby, and she was patient of my father. My father was a GP here forever, and she was a patient of his, and also had worked for him briefly, and they got phenomenal reviews on her. So we took Mary Kate out there, and she would stay with her during the day when a bunch of, not a bunch of other kids, but 4 or 5 other kids. And because she and I, Leanne and I both had full-time jobs. And because that woman was so good, realistically, that's why we stayed.
Yeah.
Because, finding a great babysitter that that's like having your own mother take care of your kid, that was crucial for us.
I would say you've had that. And then, of course, I think there was a time where we've talked about this in the past. I think you might have even told the story at the Hall of Fame induction was like when you decided that it was like, I'm going to go from mostly coaching guys sports to girls sports was a lot because the daughters, Mary Kate and Blair, obviously, were a big point in that, and also giving them the opportunity to go and play because you kind of developed the entire volleyball program. I'm not going to say that you were the only one that did it, but you had a big hand in it.
Well, the guy that really put it together in '85 or '86 was a guy named Jim Luna, who was one of the guys that came back and taught us. He played for the Air Force team, All-Star team, and he was phenomenal. And was still playing up until a couple of years ago, and then I think he finally blew out both shoulders. But his daughter was in school here, and he wanted to make sure she had a chance to play, so he started the program. And then I think he left it. She played for 2 years, and she graduated. I think he left the program, and he wasn't coaching. I think Betty Wood coached it.
Yep.
I think Patsy Stiles coached it, sponsored it, and went from there. And and it was really successful the first couple of years. I think they may have made it to the region, which I don't think they had districts back then. I think they had regions, and they made it to the semifinals of the region and things like that. They had winning records. 15 was the most they'd won, And
that was before they started playing 40 and 50 matches.
Yeah. Well,
who decided to do that?
I don't know. Well, here's the deal. Everybody was playing at least 25 or 30.
Yeah.
And I came in and took the program over after Cox and I had been coaching the middle school football team, and we both decided after that last endeavor, because we had both been on the high school staff, and I was the head coach and he was the defensive coordinator. Then I relinquished that job, and probably rightfully so, and everybody was tickled that I did. And then the guy that came in was the guy I recommended to Ed Cantrell, who's the principal. I said, this guy's tough. I mean, he's just what it needs. I said, I was tough, but I was more of an XSO guy, and this guy's more of a Jimmy and Joe guy. And I said, he's going to have them discipline all the pieces. And so they brought Fritz in. Fritz's first call was to me to ask me if I'd coach. And I said, sure. So as you have me coach the freshman line. And before we got 2 weeks into fall camp, there was no freshman line. He had run them all off.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he pulled them up. No.
No, they were gone. There was maybe 5 total freshmen. And I looked at him. I said, Cox is over at the middle school, because he made Cox the head coach of the middle school. I said, he's over by himself. I said, he's got a couple of guys. I said, why don't you let me go over and help him? So we did that for a year, and then Cox decided he was finished with football, and he had bigger aspirations than that. And I decided that, because like I said in that story, one night saw my daughter crying on the sidelines while I was warming up before a game, because she had to sit with me until my wife could come pick her up and in pregame. I walked her up the stadium steps, put her in there. I got her, she was calmed down. Mary Kate was calmed down because she thought people were hurting each other on the field. And I'm looking at the people hitting each other at that particular point in time. I said, ain't nobody hurting nobody on this field. I said, we could start running from 20 yards apart, and by the time we got it would be just poof. But anyhow, no offense to those kids. I mean, that was just
the best they could.
They were doing the best they could. And there were some good kids in that group that would have hit you. But the ones I was dealing with, the ones she was crying over, they were more position type blockers and things of that nature. So I put her in the car, and I said, and Blair was in his car seat, and Mary Kate strapped in beside her, and I looked back down at that field, and I said, I love that field, and I love that sport. And I said, but I got 2 daughters, and I've been watching the volleyball program, and I said, it could use a full-time coach. And I said, I think I'll just see if they'll take me. And they said, oh, sure. Yeah. And especially since it was $2,200 in the hole. And so I'm selling candy out of my back office of my classroom. And then a year later, I can't remember who it was, a little McBride girl, I think it was, came up to me and said, our coach left. Would you coach fast pitch? I said, well, it can't be much of a difference than baseball. And I've been coaching baseball. And I try to do a timing pick off second base. Hard to do a timing pick on second base with the pitcher when you have no leadoff. The kids had to explain that to me.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
We can do it, but it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. You might hit the girl on the head and she falls off the base and you tag her. I don't know.
You start selling Amway out of the trunk too?
No. I didn't get.
Telling you that story.
Yeah, I didn't get to that. But I ended up taking over softball, and it was $4,200 in the hole, and because that guy had done a fundraiser, bless his heart, and he got a better job, and he just left. Didn't collect the money, didn't collect the jewelry. I went, you got to be kidding me. So there you go.
So you just became the fixer, and then gave it up to everybody else.
I was just thinking about changing my name to Willy Wonka, because I was selling so much candy out of that back office. It was stupid.
Well, Coach, we're running out of time today, but one thing that I have to ask before we go here: are you going to be back? Are you going to be back for the tournament, Church League volleyball?
Oh no, man! I'm wearing a brace right now.
Yeah. They need you, Coach. They need you.
No, they don't need me. They need you, and they need Palumbo. Yeah.
Well, Coach, appreciate you coming in. And again, too, we're sorry about the little bit of technical difficulty to start the show, but we will be back tonight, 5:30 to 6 o'clock. We're going to do the Coach's Show with Coach Ballou, and Michael Thrower is going to be also here. But, Coach, always appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Jeff. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to my bums, Family Sports Grill, 507-2867, the sponsor of the Simmons Says Show. We will be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Appreciate y'all.
I'm not here to make friends, I'm sure it's evident. Don't care about mom and then what was your name again? Was in the spring, one sunny day.